All right. Good evening. It is now 6:01. I am calling the study session to order. Tonight, Redevelopment Commission will hear a study session update on the wayfinding and place marketing plan. If Multi-Studio would please come forward for the presentation.
Okay, perfect. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Nicole Norgren with Multi-Studio. We are a multidisciplinary design firm located in the Valley. We have been brought on board for the place marketing and wayfinding project for the Heritage District. As Multi-Studio, we believe in design collaboration and the pursuit of possibility. So we are here today to share with you what we've discovered in possibility for your project. So the wayfinding and place marketing project, just to give you an update as to what the scope of the project was, we are looking at capturing the district's character within the Heritage District, building a flexible and comprehensive wayfinding plan that not only encourages cross-pollination, but keeps people in the district to experience new things in the Heritage District. Also, talking about celebrating and balancing the modern and historical aspects within the Heritage District. So place marketing, character development, and wayfinding. So as we started this project, we started with an intake, integrate, and understanding. We did a whole series of outreach from stakeholder interviews, external stakeholder interviews, to the full community, to a project team where we went through various visioning exercises, question asking, everything from what are the attributes of the Heritage District all the way to what are the challenges you may discover or have while you're in the Heritage District. One of the main things that we found in this session was parking. Finding parking is kind of an issue. So being able to have wayfinding system that supports that and being able to locate that was something that came to the forefront, as well as what we call this area. So we had over 878 community survey results that came through, as well as a stakeholder engagement, external stakeholder engagement group of about 12 people, and a project team about 15 to 20 people. With all of the information that we were able to gather, we then took that and synthesized that down into the core challenges, the core project goals, and how we can support that from a place marketing and wayfinding perspective. Aspects of the Heritage District that came to the forefront was a lot of people call it just downtown Gilbert, and we know that is an issue. That you are unique in the sense that every town, every city has a downtown, but you as Gilbert have a Heritage District, and that's something that's really important and something that we really wanted to play up in this place marketing and wayfinding package. The other aspect that I mentioned in the beginning was parking is one of the issues, being able to locate that easily. So making sure that our project and our solutions address that. We did everything from qualitative to quantitative research and studies, everything from image selection and dot polling of does this image feel like Gilbert, does this image not feel like Gilbert, why and why not, as well as more of a attribute exercise. We took all of that information, distilled that down into key takeaways that then ultimately resulted in these big four, is what we're calling them, the four must-haves of the project. We know that of all of the information that we found, from the challenges, the attributes, a place marketing and wayfinding system can't do everything all at once, but different parts and pieces of it can, and together it can satisfy all of the requirements that came out of those surveys and results. So the big four that came out of this exercise were that the system and the place marketing needed to communicate clearly and effectively the character of the district. It needed to visualize the historic stories that are very rich in the Heritage District in new ways. It also needed to be robust and flexible, knowing that the Heritage District and downtown are growing, that this can't be a static system. This can't be a one-time done. It needs to be able to grow and expand as you grow and expand. It also needs to create a sense of place. So it can't be a wayfinding package that literally can pick up from one city and drop into our town. It needs to be unique to Gilbert. Out of those big four, we distill that down again a little bit further into a singular concept statement for design. This drove the design both visually and structurally as what we're going to be presenting. So we landed on cultivate character. So the Heritage District has roots that run strong and deep. Over the years, this rich history has cultivated Gilbert's unique experience. Areas brimming with character add texture to the patchwork of historical agriculture and celebrate the diversity and complexity of the community and its goals to bridge the past and cross-pollinate the future. We distilled that down into not only from a words perspective, but into visuals. So this is something we find in our process as multi-studio is a pivotal part of the project to drive it forward. This is a singular point of alignment between the project group, the community, all of the different aspects come together to create this singular mood board, which will guide the design moving forward. This is where we have landed for this particular project. Again, you'll see some things that are a little bit maybe more on the neutral side. One of the goals for the project was to, again, not compete with the vibrancy in the Heritage District, but to complement it. So rooted in more of those natural colors, more historic tones, and amplified with some vibrancy that you'll see here in a little bit. So this is something we also use as a checkpoint throughout the entire process. We'll get far enough along, design some things, and then come back to this. Does this still feel like this? So to serve as that kind of North Star for the project. Knowing that the Heritage District is a large area that a lot of people kind of associate between, let's just say, Vaughan and Page and Gilbert Road, it is a much larger area than that. So kind of being able to communicate that to residents and visitors and people that occupy the Heritage District was important as a part of this. And we really felt that utilizing existing historical landmarks is important. What we've kind of called out here are three distinct landmarks, one in the north, one in the middle, and one kind of at the south, utilizing the canal, the water tower, and the railway as those key navigational pieces. So we're not branding them as separate areas or doing anything like that. It's more so as a wayfinding device to know where you are within the district. So utilizing those three also allows us to tell the stories of those three unique pieces. There's a really rich history within the canal, within the water tower, and within the railway that we want to kind of utilize within the system. So each one of these landmarks provides a unique kind of detailing, story, and pattern that we're looking to utilize within the place marketing and wayfinding to use as that navigational tool. The canal, we are utilizing kind of an icon to distinguish each area, which then results in a series of patterns that you'll start to see show up in some of the signs I'm going to show you in a couple minutes. But again, it's meant to be more of a subtle device, subtle design device to kind of alert you as to where you are and encourage you to kind of explore more. So the canal one is very much rich in the canal and the water, but also you can see some bike treads in the patterns, the trail system, the walkability, the bikeability, the mobility aspects of that come to life within that one. In the water tower, this one is more rooted in the agricultural history, tying in some of the water tower, the farming, the hay community, all of that. And then the railway kind of pulls in the railroad tracks, the museum, and that housing connection. We utilize patterns from a navigational standpoint because there's already so many patterns going on in the district right now that are really beautiful hidden gems that maybe people don't know why they're there. There's the patterns around Hearn, there's the patterns around the water tower, the crisscrossing patterns. So by utilizing these patterns, we're aiming to unify all of that together and to pull that into the story that we can tell from a place marketing and wayfinding perspective for the district. Another fun fact about these icons is that the word canal is actually Easter egg hidden in each of the icons. There's a C, an A, an N, all of that. All of those are kind of embedded in there. Again, you will only know that and I will know that because I'm telling you right now, but it's something you can kind of utilize from a story perspective. Those icons then, that system of patterns result in a unifying mark for the entire district. So we know that the Heritage District extends beyond the tracks. It goes further east and west than just Gilbert Road. So a way that we can utilize that navigational tool to express how vast the district is, it can all come together in a unifying mark within that offset H. So we're using the 3 bars of that offset H to, again, speak to those very distinct 3 historical landmarks. So we have the crossbar, which is the canal. We have one of the verticals that is the water tower, and the other vertical that is the railway. And together, those form the Heritage District in totality. How does that translate into wayfinding? This is the start of the system that we've created. Again, not just a single sign type is going to be able to do everything that the project has set out to achieve. We've come up with a series of pieces from orientation, which are larger elements, from banners along the road to directories that may be more toward the parking garages, to more of the historic signs that will be found within the neighborhood, to discovery pieces that could tell the story of the water tower, could tell the story of the pattern, could tell the story of the lights on Hearn. All of those different pieces, again, those moments of discovery and encouraging people to kind of linger longer within the district. And those moments of arrival is the other category, to again confirm you've reached your destination. And navigation, which is one of the biggest components to this project, alerting people to where parking is, where rideshare is, to mitigate all of those current challenges. From a material and flexibility perspective, we've built this system in a very modular way, so as to provide that future flexibility for you all. Everything is based off of that offset H, so everything is kind of shifted a little bit, and it has that unifying structure, which then these panels kind of sit in front of, that can be easily changed and removed. So everything is modular, so if something were to change or move, you're not replacing an entire sign, you're only replacing a particular panel. Color choice has also been really important for us to kind of take a look at, making sure that if you do have to replace a panel in 2 years, the sun hasn't faded the color and the colors aren't different. That's why we're selecting the colors that we are to help mitigate any of those concerns. We're looking at a Corten look finish. It will not be a Corten product because we understand brushing up against it, rain, all of that is not really good, but we really like the color and the texture that that brings and the vibrancy it brings to the district. Utilizing color, which you'll see are kind of related to the Gilbert brand palette, specifically for services. So out of the survey results, it was really came to the forefront that those are the things that are hard to find, right? I've said it a couple of times, but parking, restrooms, those kinds of service amenity pieces. So we've used color strategically in those efforts to guide people to those destinations. Another kind of complementing character piece that we've created is this robust banner system, which utilizes the existing banner structure along Gilbert Road, but adds on a panel to the opposite side to, again, reinforce that offset H motif, to provide an infrastructure for vibrancy within the district, while also keeping something consistent from a brand perspective. So there'll always be a consistent H or Heritage District banner rotating between the darker color and the lighter color as you go down the road, but also on the opposite side, an ability for change. So we can put something in there from a promotional perspective or holiday. There was the veterans ones that were up just recently. And as a moment of discovery as well. Perhaps it's little snapshots of public art, with a little icon as to where you can go find that. Again, trying to promote people's discovery and experience within the Heritage District beyond the sole reason that they came there at that moment. Also looking at more of a permanent structure for the banner, the Heritage version, we're looking at doing that as more of a metal panel as opposed to a vinyl, again, for longevity purposes for years to come. This is just a snapshot of the system with the Gilbert Road kind of context in the background, so you can see the vibrancy of the area and how these signs are meant to complement. You can also see the subtlety of the patterns that start to play in those laser-cut, powder-coated metal panels, that they are more of a subtle reinforcement. They are not something that is very prominent, but more of that subtle piece. At night, we're looking at these two in particular that would have lighting to them. The larger ones would be near the parking garage, which could tie into the color changing lights, similar to the water tower and the Hearn lights. And the smaller one would just be a white light to help with navigation at night, being more at the pedestrian scale. A large part of this project that we are still working on as well is this arrival moment. So I wanted to share these with you right now as developments are kind of still in the works here. Looking at a arrival moment that kind of spans Gilbert Road, the historical precedent of that Gilbert sign that you see in that black and white photo is something that we really latched onto and felt was a really key piece of the history. And we were looking to do something that complements that from an arrival gateway perspective. Because it's not just one particular area, we want to segment that down into the middle, and perhaps there's something on the north and the south to kind of flank that from an arrival perspective. Just to give you a quick snapshot of the project impact, we are looking at not just Gilbert Road between Vaughan and Page, but we're looking at the entire Heritage District, north and south and east and west. This is just a quick snapshot of what the project impact could be from a sign perspective. And just wanted to share that with you all today, and if there's any discussion or feedback or anything we want to chat about, wanted to leave that open for you all. As next steps, this will be a phased plan. Not everything will roll out at once, just given that project impact that I shared.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation. As this is a study session, it does not require a vote. However, this is the time for commissioners to provide feedback and ask questions of staff and the consultant. Commissioner Kendall, do you have any comments or thoughts?
I do. Thank you, Chair Clausen. I'm not sure that I'm completely sold on the logo.
Okay.
I understand each one of the symbols independently, but bringing it all together, it just kind of looks like a mishmash of stuff.
Okay.
And if it's a heritage district, where's the D in the name? Additionally, there was some options as far as a sign that went over the street. There was option 1. It looked like it had a cover on it.
I can go back there.
Yes, perfect, right there. Option 1 in front of Norwood's. Is there any type of byproduct that can go on top of that, like solar or anything that could be useful besides just holding a sign?
That's something we can definitely take a look at from an infrastructure perspective.
That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Updike?
Oh, I didn't. Hello? Did I push the right button that time? Okay. Thank you for your presentation. So I've actually been sitting in on some of those meetings. I can share that from my experience, wayfinding and these types of projects are very complicated, and I think you guys have done a great job. They're complicated because there are so many different invested parties, and everybody wants what's best generally for the whole project effort, but there's so many people to buy into it. So the things that I appreciate that you've done is that you have honored a lot of the different historical stories, some of the patterns, some of the colors. The district is vibrant. I think you've actually even used that word to describe it. And I think a generic sign would get lost. And I think that's why so many of the business users, from my perspective, are putting all those A-frame signs along Gilbert Road. They're trying to do something to stand out because the signage is an issue for the district right now. So I appreciate that you have come up with different, very creative ways to stand out, for the signs to stand out, that are still representing some of the stories of the district and how we got there. I have shared in our individual meetings how I love the lines that represent the three different sections, the lines for the canal, the lines for the railway, and the lines for the water tower and the farming industry. I can see that. And I don't think everyone will look for lines. I look for lines. Lines are very important to me. But I think people will care about that or they won't. And the ones that want to look for that story might find it fun when they find that story and they hear that story. I think one of the things you've also shared in some of the other meetings that I kind of want to reiterate, because I'm not sure if you vocalized it as much in this presentation, but how we've had a lot of folks that are stopping some of our police officers to ask for directions for those public services, how that truly is lost on people that are visiting the district. And so the fact that people can reference the different divisions of the district to know maybe they parked in this type of sign that they're seeing in that area and cross-reference that, and they get used to seeing the different sections so they know where those public services are and they're not stopping our public defenders to ask for the restroom. So I think it's been well thought out. But I know I have a little bit more time understanding the work that it's taken to get here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bigelow?
So I have a few thoughts. I do think this is it's very necessary to have just to have everything mapped out and labeled just so people can start moving around the district and they're not just right on Gilbert Road. There's a lot more to see and do, especially while they're waiting for tables, and I really feel like it'll help the circulation a ton. So thank you so much for putting this together. It'll be a huge help. I do love that we're trying to get a design that's iconic and making it, known that this is the Heritage District and kind of branding it in a way to where people are proud of it, they recognize it. Like, I think it's awesome. I really, really like it. I know that right now it's in between Funk Fitness and Norwoods, and I'm assuming that's where the existing banner is right now.
Is. Yep.
And it's probably the easiest to put it there, just because there's probably already a special use permit and everything for that. Is that for sure where it would go, or is there any way it could go closer to the front of the north anchor, like closer to Juniper?
Yeah, this is just a placeholder for where we're putting it right now. That's not to say that it's stuck in stone where that is.
Okay.
We are looking at, we know that there's going to be that North Anchor in Heritage Park, and they are planning signage as a part of their development. So using that development as more of that North Anchor piece to the Heritage District entry. And then once the South Anchor is developed later on, that could be that piece. So that's where this one has kind of landed in the middle of sorts.
Cool.
But again, just for that reason.
Okay, perfect.
Definitely flexibility.
I like the H, and I like that it's got different elements in it that are incorporating these major landmarks. However, I don't know if there were very many other designs or H's or anything or an HD that were looked at, but I really feel like if not everyone's going to realize the symbolism and everything that's behind it, if there's any way that we could see a few different options of designs of what that was, because I think if it's done in a way that just looks clean and looks good, then I could see a lot of people wearing it on T-shirts and, putting it as logos and just using it for a lot more use than just downtown. And, I feel like downtown already looks so good that And I'm not saying I don't like it, I'm just saying if there was a few other options maybe that we could look at or compare it with, and I think that would be really helpful to say, give you my honest opinion of what I think looks the best and is gonna get people most excited.
Of course.
Perfect, that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you for the time and effort in putting this together. It's clear that a lot of work has gone into this. I do agree with Commissioner Bigelow, and to your point too, there's a misconception on where the district starts and stops. And so I have concerns with where that arrival signage, just the option that you showed,
Yeah.
where it's being shown. Because too often people cut it off at the train tracks to the south and Vaughan to the north, or they'll go past Heritage Marketplace, but it goes all the way up to Juniper. So I think it's very, very important that although we do have the south anchor coming in, I would hate to see that sign wait for their development to take place to set that southern boundary. So I don't know. I would like. I'm happy to hear. I think you mentioned that there would be 3 signs, but I do think that the signage to define that district is extremely crucial. So it's good to see that. I think the H is. I understand the thought process and the thoughtfulness behind it. I think it's. I don't not like it. I think it's workable. I think it's doable. I appreciate the QR code. I noticed a QR code. Could you tell us a little bit about the QR codes? I think that's important to have something, as you mentioned, that works today and in the future.
Yep. We know maps are a big thing in orientation-wise, and Discover Gilbert has done a really good job at capturing all of the businesses and locations. So including the QR codes in the signage themselves help the updatability really easily from a digital perspective and not having to replace the sign every time a business moves or the restroom moves or the parking garage or something like that happens or something new comes in. We've kind of talked about as a group too, signing directly to businesses. Businesses can always change all of the time. So signing more to the things that are staples or like where the farmer's market is or where the water tower is or where these public places and spaces are is more important in that map perspective, and then relying on that QR code for those specifics.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Is Commissioner Baugh on the phone or no?
No, he is not.
Okay. I think anybody else have any more comments? Any commissioners? No?
Chair Clausen, I just wanted to make one quick comment about the gateway arrival sign. I know Nicole mentioned that those were just some concepts. We have not vetted those yet with the stakeholder groups, but we're starting down that process, and certainly we'll use, the feedback from tonight as we shape all of that. So I don't want you to think that those are set in stone options, but just seeking that feedback tonight. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the time is now 6:29 p.m., and we will now recess study session and convene the regular meeting. Staff, would you please take roll call?
Chair Clausen,
Here.
Vice Chair Kendall,
Here.
Commissioner Bigelow,
Here.
Commissioner Updike,
Here.
Commissioner Baugh. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Amanda. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters not on the agenda. The Commission's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Are there any communications from citizens at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any requests to speak from citizens at this time.
All right. We now move into administrative item number 2, considering approval of minutes for the regular meeting held on October 18th, 2023. Are there any edits the Commission wishes to make? All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Chair Clausen, I motion to approve the minutes from the October 18th, 2023 meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. If the commissioners would please vote for approval of the minutes on October 18th, 2023. There we go. Okay. All right, the motion has passed. I will now have our council liaison, Councilmember Torgerson, lead the next item. Actually, he's not here tonight, is he?
Mr. Chairman, he's online.
Oh, perfect.
I can't see you this time, unfortunately. I could a moment ago, but now I can't. Anyhow, TJ, thank you. Tonight we'll be appointing a new chair and a vice chair for the Redevelopment Commission. And first and foremost, we want to thank Chair Clausen for all the work and leadership he's provided as chair over the last 2 years. As chair, TJ led the commission through a number of study sessions and design reviews, including the Semino Gelato, Water Tower Plaza, and the Brundrett Building. In addition, he served in other capacities as chair representing the commission in such events as the recent downtown tour with the council. We're glad that he will continue on as commissioner. And TJ, thank you so much for your dedication, and we'll have a small gift for you. Not a parting gift, but a small gift for your commitment. And since I can't see how this is working there, I'm just going to keep rolling forward. I'd like to announce the appointment of Vice Chair Casey Kendall as the new Redevelopment Commission Chair and Commissioner Cassandra Updike as the new Redevelopment Commissioner Vice Chair. And thank you both for your willingness to be leaders in our community. I look forward to working with both of you in your new capacities. And I think something's happening now, but I can't see you. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councilmember Torgerson.
Thank you, Councilmember Torgerson. I will now open the public hearing for DR 23-56, the Burnett Building. Items will be heard at one public hearing, at which time anyone wishing to comment on a public hearing item may do so. Comments will be heard from those in support of or in opposition to an item. In order to comment on a public hearing item, you must fill out a public comment form indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of the commission. After the public hearing, the commission may act on all items not requiring additional staff, public, or commission comment with a single vote. If staff would please come forward to provide a presentation on item DR 23-56, the Brundett Building. Am I saying that correctly?
Brundrett.
Brundett. Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Chair Kendall. All right. Good evening, Commission. The case I have for you tonight is for DR 2356, the Brundrett Building. My name is Kristen Devine. I'm a planner with the town. The proposed development is located on a vacant parcel located southwest of Gilbert Road and Page Avenue between the existing Norwood Furniture Building and the farmhouse. The site is approximately 0.365 acres and is zoned Heritage Village Center. The proposed development is about 30,000 square feet. The site includes patios at the front of the development off Gilbert Road and also at the rear of the development off of the alley. There are raised planters proposed to act as a buffer between the patios and their adjacent roadways. To the south of the site, you'll find a pedestrian walkway that connects Gilbert Road to the alley and is a great connection point for pedestrians to reach Water Tower Plaza. The second floor of the development includes balconies at both the front and rear of the site. The front balcony will encroach roughly 3.5 feet into the right-of-way over the sidewalk. Parking is proposed off-site as well as a refuse container with a compactor that will be located in the Norwoods parking lot near the railroad tracks. Ground floor landscaping includes Huntington carpet, rosemary, and yellow dot within raised planter walls at the front and rear of the site. The second floor landscaping is found on the front and rear balconies, where you'll find Texas Mountain Laurel and Sierra Sun trees, as well as a variety of shrubs and ground cover such as gold lantana, bougainvillea, and dwarf myrtle. The rooftop landscaping includes The rooftop landscaping includes fruitless olive trees as well as a variety of ground cover and shrubs already mentioned. The balcony and rooftop trees will be planted in architecturally detailed boxes of steel or glass fiber reinforced concrete, and then they will be anchored to the structure. The trees will be anchored to those boxes. The fruitless olive is the only landscaping being used that's not currently part of the Heritage District design guidelines, but it is consistent with the direction of some past study sessions of other projects requesting to use the same tree. The applicant is proposing a 4-story mixed-use building that stands at 55 feet tall. 55 feet is the maximum height allowed within the Heritage District. The applicant is also proposing a 5-foot-tall mechanical equipment enclosure, which is also permitted by the Land Development Code. It'll bring the total height of the portion of the building to 60 feet. The use for the ground floor is anticipated as a full-service restaurant, bar, or cafe. The second and third floors are proposed as office space, and a rooftop patio and bar for the 4th floor. A portion of the rooftop is enclosed, which will allow the rooftop to be utilized during inclement weather. The primary material that's being used is red brick with accents of a metal seam material being used on the face of the 2nd floor and rooftop balconies. The balconies will face both Gilbert Road and the alley at the rear of the property, which will provide views of the downtown and water tower area. The rooftop enclosure will be a shadow box glazed glass with aluminum mechanical screening placed on top. On the ground floor, you'll also find a pedestrian connection from Gilbert Road to the alley at the rear of the site, which will be hardscaped with stamped concrete. Above the walkway, the applicant has proposed festival lighting to be strung from the proposed building towards the existing Norwoods building. There are glass doors and windows at the southern elevation of the building, which will face the walkway, creating an open and inviting pedestrian experience. The applicant is also proposing murals along the southern wall where there are no windows or doors. And here are just some additional 3D renderings of the project. And then seen here is a more close-up of the colors and materials that are being proposed. All right, and here are the floor plans for each floor of the building. On the top left is the 1st floor plan anticipated for restaurant use. The bottom left and top right are the floor plans for the proposed office space. And the bottom right is the floor plan for the proposed rooftop patio and bar area. And with that, staff recommends approval of DR 2356, the Brundrett Building, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Commissioners, are there any questions for staff? Vice Chair Updike, do you have any questions?
I do have a question. I'm trying to see if it will be answered already and what's been provided. So maybe I'll just ask. That 3-foot overhang is at the 2nd floor balcony only? Do I understand that?
Yes, so it's the Chair Kendall, Vice Chair Updike, getting used to the new role changes. So the balcony on the 2nd floor, it sits at about 15 feet tall. That is what will encroach over the sidewalk, the 3.5 feet.
Okay.
Roughly 3.5 feet.
Okay, so there's no planters at grade.
There are on the property line.
Okay, they're not encroaching on the sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I might have another question. I might have another question, but thank you.
Commissioner Bigelow?
So on the north side of the building, there's no windows, and that's where they're proposing perhaps doing murals on that side.
So Chair Kendall, Commissioner Bigelow, the north side of the building, it sits on the property line at the 0-foot setback, which will be lined up with the farmhouse building next to it. I don't recall off the top of my head where the murals were proposed. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I was more just curious, just because I know the building just north of that is currently for sale.
It is.
Do you see any problem or issues if whoever buys that ends up ripping it down or wanting to build up? Any issues that could potentially be ran into? It's probably good they didn't put windows on this side to be preventative, just in case.
It's part of the fire code requirement. They can't put windows at the 0-foot setback because of that reason.
Perfect. Okay, and then the fruitless olive trees, they do get pretty big and they live a long time. I love the trees on the top of the building. I think it's going to be it's going to look really good and be very functional.
Lost it.
Just, I'm not an engineer or anything. I'm sure they'll figure out drainage and everything to make sure that they, stay alive and healthy. I was just more curious if there was a specific reason that they picked the fruitless olive trees.
I know that the applicant is here tonight. They might be able to elaborate on that. I do know that from the beginning, though, we did have discussions on, we want to make sure that these trees are viable, whatever landscaping you're choosing. We want to make sure that they're not just going to die within the year and then all of a sudden your landscaping is gone. If you're proposing landscaping, it needs to be there and be
Perfect.
taken care of.
Yeah, they're a hardy tree and they live for 100 for years, so I don't see it being an issue, but, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Clausen, do you have any questions?
I don't think so. I appreciate the applicant, resubmitting after the study session, and I can see some of the changes that were made. I think it looks good. I think it's going to have a great feel from the street. The tree line, even on the second floor there, second floor balcony, I think is going to have a great impact. And I like the corridor leading to the back of the property that runs east-west. I mean, right across the street, there's how many families have gotten photos in that little white alleyway right across the street over there? It creates a moment another moment in downtown Gilbert, I think, the possibility for another moment. So, no, I'm good, thanks.
I got one more question about the alley. When something's built in an alley's like this is obviously private property, or do they have to get an easement that says it's public right away? Only reason I ask is because the one in between SoCal and the barber shop, technically, Raul and his family, they own that, and people are always taking pictures there, but they have to kick him out and this and that. And this one's 10 feet wide, it looks like, or just over that, which is be plenty of space for people to get by, but I'm just more curious than anything.
So you're talking about the walkway from Gilbert Road to the alleyway?
To the alleyway, yep.
So I know that it was part of previous ordinances and agreements that at least a 6-foot walkway was required. They chose to do 10 feet, but I apologize, I'm not sure the history behind it.
No, that's
I just know
okay.
that it was a requirement.
It was a
to place
requirement
there.
for it to be put there. Okay, perfect. Well, I like that it's 10 feet. That's awesome. It'll look really good.
Commissioner Updike?
Okay, I remember my other question. I just wanted to confirm, under the list of staff recommendations, note 5, are we just evaluating the landscape deviations? Or are we also discussing this administrative use permit and just the administrative use permit for
Sure.
off-site parking?
Sure, Vice Chair Updike. So the administrative use permit was being reviewed concurrently with the design review, but there is a waiting period. So after the neighborhood notices go out, there's a specific time frame. Again, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, 15 to 20 days, I believe. But the notice of decision date for that is due on November 28th. So the waiting period fell during this hearing. So the design review is contingent upon the approval of the off-site parking, but you're not reviewing the off-site parking. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you, Commissioner Updike, and thank you for sharing. I do have a few questions. The setback for the mechanical facade, how far back is that?
I would love to answer that question for you.
It's too small.
It's too small to see. I don't know, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. How, a tree that is on top of a building, how is that secured?
So I apologize, just to go back to the setback question, it looks like it's roughly 36 feet, I'm gonna say, if I can read these numbers correctly. is where the top portion of, or the front most portion of the, I wish I had a pointer thingy.
Okay, thank you.
That looks right.
Yeah, that looks
10
correct.
plus 26, yeah.
Yeah, a little over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and to the trees. The applicant explained that they're going to be mounted and anchored into architecture boxes. They said they're going to be steel or glass, fiber or reinforced concrete style boxes, and then those trees are mounted into them. I specifically asked in the case of monsoons or something like that, what's to prevent them from falling over,
Correct.
and that's the response I was given.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Is there any additional questions for staff? Would the applicant like to come up and speak?
I don't believe so.
Staff, are there any members of the public in attendance who wish to speak on item DR 23-56?
Mr. Chairman, we have one request to speak from Mary Ellen Fresquez.
Chairman Kendall and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mary Ellen Fresquez. I live in Gilbert. I am also a property owner in the Heritage District. So first of all, I would like to thank the Brundrat family for their investment in downtown. Todd, thank you. And especially for this investment because it's a really large one. And so I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that the commissioners and staff do for making the Heritage District such a lovely place. I certainly appreciate it from the standpoint of a property owner. But there are two things that I would like to address tonight, and one of them is the administrative use permit for the parking. I was contacted today by two property owners on the east side of Gilbert Road. I won't name them, but they did contact me because I will name my lessee. So my building is on 225 North Gilbert Road. Sherry Spitz and her husband John leased that building from me. And there's just a concern that the Elm Street parking lot is already very, very full. I know that I try to access it during the day, and it's usually full. But Sherry was telling me that in the evenings, she and her husband have, on numerous occasions, almost been hit by cars. They're actually waiting for other cars to leave so that they can park. It's almost like a Christmas parking situation. So both the other property owners as well as Sherry, I think there's just a concern that because there's a requirement for 165 additional parking spots that will come, probably not all at the same time, but I mean, there are going to be restaurants in the new building, and I think there might be a conflict with the parking that already exists in the Elm Street parking lot. I wanted to bring that to your attention. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention is that there is an agreement with the town of Gilbert, with the Brundrets for a right-of-way on the alley behind their building, so to the west of their building. And that allows them to have access to their buildings that are on the other side of the alleyway. But what it does is it precludes the use of the alleyway by the public. This agreement, I believe, has been there for about 30 years. I just think that we need that access, and I hope that you consider it. I know it's up for renewal next year, and I hope that we just have access to that alleyway. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant have a response that they would like to share? Any public testimony? Are there any additional questions for town staff? I will close the public hearing on item DR 23-56, and we'll look to the commission for discussion. Who would like to share their thoughts first?
So I like the building. I like how the applicant has considered our conversations in previous study sessions. I didn't notice until this meeting that administrative use permit for off-site parking, so I know that's not something that we are discussing or voting on per se, but parking would be a concern of mine as well. It's my immediate reaction.
Commissioner Bigelow?
With this session for tonight, are we only focusing on the building and the new project? Or are we able to talk about the special use permit that's been in place for 30 years? Across the, behind the building?
Chair Kendall, Commissioner Bigelow, the easement that is in place is actually under the purview of Town Council as they approve that easement. And so it is not in the purview of the commission to dialogue about that.
Okay. Do you know if they have any intent of renewing it, or is it, or we don't know at this time?
Chair Kendall, Commissioner Bigelow, the easement is in place until, I believe, August of 2024. Staff does not have any direction at this moment from council on whether or not it will continue or whether or not they'll sunset.
Perfect. I think the building is beautiful, and I think it's just going to add more to the Heritage District. It's designed very well. It looks really clean, and I appreciate the changes that were made to make it fit within the design guidelines. I'm curious. It looks like the first floor has a patio that comes out about level with Liberty Market and that little building behind the farmhouse. Just past that, there's a few more parking spaces left over. Is there any intent to build or to do anything with that space, or is that just going to remain parking? My next question is I know they talked about, we've looked at a few different designs of redoing the park in the Water Tower Plaza. Would this at all affect the ability for the plans that we had there with doing food trucks, or with trying to get a fire truck or an ambulance down there if needed, or anything like that?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Bigelow, we have looked at the Water Tower Plaza project completely separately. The town has a 16-foot right-of-way in the alley, and you may recall that on the east side of that project, we will be removing parking stalls right there in order to open up our access, which could certainly, during particular special events, lend itself to different kind of mobile vendors. Also would be able to be utilized for emergency and or loading type zones.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. I like it.
Any additional comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. I'll take this time and share my thoughts. Parking is always going to be a concern. I had lunch down there today and had to park in the park and ride. There's a lot of traffic down there, and it's always going to be an issue, I think. I think timing. We've got the Water Tower Plaza, we mentioned that, as well as HD North coming in and other various projects. So I think timing and communication are going to be key in this project. What I'm really happy about is that we didn't hear much about height. I know that throughout the iterations of this building and the various designs that we saw, height was an issue. So I thank the applicant for listening to the feedback and bringing back really a good-looking building that I think is going to work and fit nicely. Are there any additional comments or questions? Perfect. Hearing none, I'll now call for a vote. And I'll look for the commissioners to make a motion.
I'll motion to approve DR 23-56, the Brundret Building.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
A motion was made by Commissioner Clausen and a second by Commissioner Bigelow. I'll now call for a vote.
Mr. Chairman, as a point of clarification, I see that we have a motion to approve DR 23, but I'd like to clarify if that includes the findings of fact 1 through 5.
Do I state that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. A motion was made by Commissioner Clausen and a second by Commissioner Bigelow to approve DR 23-56.
Including the finding of some facts 1 through 5.
Including the findings of 1 through 5.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll now call for a vote. The item's been approved. Thank you. I'll now move into communication for our agenda.
So, Mr. Chairman, we will start with a report from the chair on current or future events, if you have any.
There are a few events happening this month in the Heritage District, and I wanted to call your attention to the Gilbert Days Parade. We'll step off at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, November 18th, and a map of free public parking is available online. The Gilbert Water Tower Holiday Lighting Celebration will take place at 6 p.m. on Monday, November 27th at Water Tower Plaza. And you can find more information regarding both of these events and more at the town website, gilbertaz.gov. And finally, the town of Gilbert, in conjunction with the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce, will be hosting a Heritage District meetup on Thursday, December 7th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. The event will feature a walking tour of the Heritage District moderated by representatives from Gilbert's Office of Economic Development. You can expect to learn more about the current and future investments within the district, including infrastructure projects, higher education, private developments, and the activation of public spaces for retail, art, and culture. This is a free event, and you can sign up via the chamber website at gilbertaz.gov. Or .com, rather, sorry.
Thank you, Councilman Torgerson. I also would like to extend my invitation to Gilbert Days Parade, and I will be a part of the Gilbert Leadership Float, and we are in spot 88. So looking forward to seeing everyone there for that. Commissioners, do you have any reports? Perfect. Staff?
I don't have a report tonight, Chair Kendall, but I just want to say thank you so much to Commissioner Clausen for his leadership. We've really appreciated all that you've done, and thank you so much. And to Chair Kendall and Vice Chair Updike, looking forward to working with you both in your new leadership capacities. So thank you all for all of your hard work.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Thank you very much, Commissioner Clausen. I appreciate you. Thank you. We will now adjourn the meeting at 6:58 p.m. Have a great evening.